You just met someone. They told you their name. You smiled, you nodded, and 30 seconds later, it's gone. Not almost there, not on the tip of your tongue, just gone. And the worst part isn't the forgetting. The worst part is what comes after. The way you have to maneuver an entire conversation around a name you can't recall. The way you introduce them to someone else and suddenly go quiet at exactly the wrong moment. The way you catch yourself thinking, if I just cared more, I would have remembered, but caring was never the problem. And that's exactly what nobody tells you. There's a particular kind of person who forgets names. You've probably met one. You might be one. Someone who can replay an entire conversation from 2 years ago. Not just the words, but the temperature of it. The way the air shifted when something important was said. The exact look on someone's face before they decided to trust you. But ask them the name of the person they met at dinner last week, and they'll go completely blank. It doesn't make sense on the surface. How can someone so present, so perceptive, so deeply aware of the people around them, consistently fail at something as basic as a name? The answer lies somewhere most people never think to look, not in the memory. In the mind behind the memory. This is what psychologists call attentional prioritization, and for highly sensitive people, for deep processors, for those whose nervous systems are tuned to pick up everything, it happens constantly. Not just with names, with dates, with details, with any information that doesn't carry an emotional charge. Because here is the uncomfortable truth about how certain minds work. They don't record the world the way a camera does, evenly, indiscriminately. Everything in frame. They record it the way a poet does. They notice what feels significant. They hold what moves them. They let the rest drift. And names stripped of all context, stripped of all feeling, are often just sounds, arbitrary labels that carry no weight until the person behind them becomes real to you. Which means the forgetting isn't carelessness. It's actually the byproduct of a mind that leads with feeling. A mind that was already trying to understand the person before it knew what to call them. Pause on that for a moment, because it changes everything about how this looks. Think about what you do remember. You remember the hesitation before someone answered a difficult question. You remember the specific kind of laugh that means someone is covering something up. You remember who in a room was pretending to be comfortable. You remember what wasn't said, the silence that sat between two sentences and meant more than either of them. These are not small things. These are not things that ordinary attention captures. These are the things you only notice when your processing runs deeper than the surface. And yet, the name, gone. This is the paradox that sits at the center of this experience. The same wiring that makes you extraordinarily attuned to people makes you terrible at cataloging them. The same depth that makes you unforgettable to others makes you forget what others are called. You are not less present than people who remember names. You are present in a different register entirely. But here's where it gets harder. Because forgetting names doesn't just cause embarrassment. It causes a particular, private kind of shame. The moment you realize you've forgotten, something changes in your body before it changes in your face. A quiet alarm, a rush of internal scrambling. And suddenly, you're having two conversations at once. The one happening out loud, and the one happening in the frantic, mortified interior of your mind. You smile, you respond, you navigate the entire interaction on autopilot, while some part of you is running through every name you've ever known, hoping to land on the right one. And the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. Because stress, real stress, the kind your nervous system registers as a genuine threat, actively blocks retrieval. The part of your brain responsible for pulling up stored information shuts down under pressure. The name becomes less accessible the harder you reach for it. So the forgetting feeds the panic, and the panic feeds the forgetting. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, a story forms. A story that says, this is who I am. Someone who can't be trusted with the simplest act of human acknowledgement. Someone who forgets. But that story is wrong. And it's worth understanding exactly why. Here is the turning point. The people who are most distressed by forgetting names are almost never the people who don't care about others. They're the ones who care too much, who feel the social weight of a forgotten name so acutely, who understand so deeply what it signals to someone else, that the forgetting becomes unbearable in a way it simply wouldn't be for someone more indifferent. You don't lie awake replaying a moment if the moment didn't matter to you. The anguish is the evidence. The shame you carry around this is, in a strange and backwards way, proof of exactly the quality you're afraid the forgetting disproves. And there's something else worth sitting with. Names are not natural. They are not instinctive. They are a social invention, arbitrary sounds we've agreed to attach to specific people, and they require a specific kind of deliberate processing to retain. Your brain did not evolve to remember that a particular person is called by a particular name. It evolved to remember whether that person was kind, whether they were safe, whether being near them felt like something to move toward or something to move away from. The emotional memory, the relational memory, that's what your brain was built for. Names came later, and for some minds, the ones already doing so much else, they require more deliberate effort to hold. This is not a broken brain. This is a brain with different defaults, a brain that needs to be worked with rather than worked against. And here is the deepest truth inside all of this. If you are someone who forgets names, who has carried the quiet shame of it, who has over-apologized for it, who has let it become evidence of something unflattering about who you are, hear this. The part of you that forgets is inseparable from the part of you that remembers everything else. The sensitivity that overwhelms your encoding in the first moments of meeting someone is the same sensitivity that makes you the person others come to when they need to be truly heard. The depth that causes the forgetting is the same depth that causes you to hold people in a way that has nothing to do with what you call them. You cannot remove one without losing the other. They are the same thing, arriving in different forms. And the people who matter, who have seen you over time, who know what it is to be in your presence, they already know this. They have felt it. They don't need you to have remembered their name to know that you saw them, because being seen by you doesn't feel like being categorized. It feels like being understood. A name is a handle, a label on the door. But you have always been more drawn to what lives inside the room, and everyone who has ever let you in has felt the difference. So what do you do with this? Not a trick, not a system, just a different story. The next time you forget and feel the familiar wave of shame, try this instead. Not, I didn't care enough, but my brain was already full of caring about something else. Not, something is wrong with me, but I am wired for depth over detail, and I am learning, slowly, deliberately, to build a bridge between the two. Because that is what this is. Not a deficit, a gap between the way you naturally move through the world and the particular thing the world has decided to measure. Gaps can be crossed with patience, with practice, without losing the thing that made the gap worth understanding in the first place. You forget names, but you remember what matters. And for the people who know you, really know you, that has always been enough. If this video found you today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who apologizes too much for forgetting. Someone who has let this one small thing become a verdict on who they are. Someone whose silence when a name slips away holds more pain than it should. And if you want to keep exploring the quiet architecture of the human mind, the invisible reasons behind the things we do, the hidden logic of how we're built, subscribe to Inner Psychology and follow along. Because every mind has a story. And the ones that forget your name but hold your soul, those are often the most extraordinary stories of all. That's why we're here.